Welcome to the evaluation training. We are here to learn, and we learn by evaluating, by getting the evaluations, implementing the comments you get from your evaluator, and making your speeches and roles better next time. When you come to Toastmasters, what kind of technique, evaluation technique you learn? Anyone? 3 plus 2, okay? 3 plus 2. Sandwich. Yeah, that's typical answer. Yeah, most of us learn sandwich technique. So something positive, something for improvement, and then again close it with something encouraging and positive. That was also what I learned when I was first-time manager. Give your team members feedback in a form of sandwich. But then, after I was staying in that role, and then after I was for some time in Toastmasters, I learned that there are many more different feedback techniques. And I would like to introduce you to one of those, specially crafted, specially dedicated for evaluating speeches. Because what is a good speech? When do you know that speech is good? When do you know that speech is good? Standing ovation is a direct feedback. Yes, I liked your speech. Okay, that's one of the features of good speech. I mean, one of the effects of the good speech. But what are the features of the good speech? How do you know that speech was good or not? When you're sitting in the audience, how do you know that the speech of the person who is on the stage is good?
There is no pause before the applause.
There is no pause. Okay, that's also kind of an external visible effect of the speech that being good. But when the speech is good, the energy level,
when
yeah,
it stays in your memory.
When it stays in your memory, and it will stays in your memory because of
The value of that speech.
Because of the value of that speech, yeah, the connection. Okay, long story short, I'm not going to keep you for longer. The good speech is the one that achieves its purpose. And that purpose can be many different things. And let's start from the purpose. Because unless you know what the purpose of your speech is, don't even go on the stage, right? So let's all start preparing the speech with a purpose. And in Toastmasters, we learned that we have 4 different types of speeches, 4 different general purposes. To inspire, to inform, to entertain, and to motivate. And each one of these speeches has different purpose. To inform, to change the state of knowledge of the audience, to entertain, to change the state of emotions of your audience, to persuade is to increase the willingness to do something, to make the audience do something, and to inspire, change the attitude towards something, right? So there are 4 different purposes. And let me put it here. So purpose is the first thing that I am asking you to evaluate when you are evaluating the speech. Whether the purpose was clear, and if it was clear, I ask you to state that purpose. For example, when Oleg will give the speech, the test speech, we should say, Oleg, I believe your speech had the purpose of informing us about this and this, or to persuade us to do this and this. And that single thing is already a feedback to the speaker whether it matches his purpose, yeah? Because if it does, then it was a good speech. If it wasn't, if it doesn't match, maybe you should work on it, right? So the general purpose. And then there is a particular purpose that says, I would like my audience to know how to fix the hammer, to feel at ease, for example, or to feel sad, because that's also entertaining speech. I would like my audience to go out and run. I would like my audience to change the attitude towards millennials. Yeah, so 4 different types of speeches. I'm asking you, when you give the evaluation, to provide that purpose. I understand your speech, I interpret your speech as being informative, that is supposed to change our knowledge about something, right? So that's how I believe you could start your evaluation. Now that we have that settled, The second thing that you need to focus is the content. And why I'm speaking about the content before I'm speaking about the stage presence? Why content is essential in a speech? Why do we want to first evaluate content before we say you moved on the stage in a this or that way?
That's the very bone of the speech?
That's the bone of the speech. That's the message. That's how the message is built. Through narration, through a story, through a proper construction, through a proper structure of the speech, through a proper language, through a proper usage of words and sentences. That's the content of the speech. That's what I would like you to focus, to evaluate whether the structure of the speech, the words and sentences used, and the stories which are used in the speech support the main objective of the speech, the reason why someone is coming to the stage. Keep in mind, we evaluate the content of the speech in a way, we check whether it supports the purpose or it doesn't support the purpose. And it's the only thing that matters. Whether the structure, the stories, the language supports the purpose or it doesn't. And I would like you to, when we are going to evaluate Oleg's speech, I would like you to pay attention whether the structure of the speech, the content, the narration supports the purpose. Okay? Now that when you're evaluating the speech, if the purpose is clear, once the purpose is evaluated, the content is evaluated, now and only now the time comes to evaluate the stage presence. I will put it stage. Yeah? So stage presence consists of two things: your body language and how you use your voice. And and that's something that typically what we think about when we speak about public speaking, when you hear public speaking, that's something that you typically think of: body language and using your voice. But it's only the third point on the agenda. So make sure that before you come to that point, you were moving too much on the stage, that was a little bit distracting, your body language was closed, was too open, was too bombastic, maybe you should try staying more calm, maybe you should try using your voice in more, vary your voice a little bit, yeah? So speak a little bit slower, maybe sometimes faster, maybe use the dialogue. Change the pitch of your voice, maybe make it lower. Use pauses. And make sure that your stage presence supports the content. Because that's how it's supposed to be. Your stage presence, your stage movement, your body language should support what you say. Are we clear on that? Are we clear on that? Any questions? Because now we come to the most interesting topic. The visual part of your speech. And by visuals, I'm understanding the slides, but also the props. For example, you can come and say something: by using this device, you have control over the whole world. And that's the prop in this situation. And the props can be of two different types. The props which are not visible at the beginning of the speech, and they play the role of a surprise. And the props which are visible from the beginning of the speech, which play the role of building the tension. And once the speaker reveals the purpose of the prop, that releases the tension. And that's a nice play on your emotions. So please evaluate your visuals in a way that they support your stage presence. I like when I'm asking the managers, when the managers or other people come to me and say, Piotr, I would like you to help me prepare for the conference. I'm having a speech for a conference. I say, okay, what do you have? Well, I have a couple of slides. You don't start building your message with the slides. You start from here and you go down there. So first you build, you need to be 100% sure what the purpose of your speech is. Only then you build the stories, you connect them, you give it a nice structure, you make sure you use proper words and build the short, understandable sentences. Once you have that, you prepare your stage presence, whether it supports what you say, so that it supports what you say. And then only once you have that, once you know all of these things, you realize, maybe I don't really need slides. And if you do, you know what these slides should contain. So I'm asking you, before I invite Oleg to the stage, I'm asking you, first, when you do your evaluation, we are going to the collective evaluation. Make sure that you understand the purpose. Then evaluate the content of the speech. Only then, and I will be asking you questions. Only then, think about stage presence, whether that supports the content, and only then think and discuss the visuals, whether it supports all of these elements of the speech. So that's my proposal for the structure, how to evaluate a speech. Are you ready for Oleg's speech? Yes. Oleg is not ready. Let's give him a round of applause and invite him to the stage. And the title of your speech is Maximizing My Profit.
Testing, presentation time. So, people tend to ask me, why is your damn keyboard split in half? Why is your keyboard cut in half? And to that, I answer to them. Not only is it cut in half, but I can also change the way every and each of those keys behave. I can reprogram all of those keys, and I did. And I adjusted that to my own needs. I adjusted the keyboard to not only preserve a straight back, because if I have a keyboard split in half, I tend to sit beside the keyboard like this, and not like this. But also to be the most efficient as I can be. Because I love efficiency. I love being efficient. And why and where did it come from? Well, let's start with what I discovered before. This is actually Clifton's Strengths Assessment. And Clifton's Strengths Assessment is basically an assessment which you do where you answer 177 statements about your personal life, about what you can do in situations, and the questions tend to look like this. So you have a spectrum of answers, being on one side more or being on the other side, and you have at max 30 seconds to answer. This has to be something that comes to your mind in a snap. Otherwise it doesn't count, because you think too much. No, it has to be just right amount of time to answer that. And I answered those questions, of course. It was an hour-long adventure, and of course I then got the results, sorting out my 34 skills in a list. And one of those skills, which I consider to be the most prominent, even though it's on the 5th place on my top skills, is being a maximizer. Being a maximizer is turning something good and making it superb. And that's where it struck me. I love efficiency. I love being the most efficient every second possible, even though it's not possible. But still, you can see that even though it's in the 5th place of my skills list, for me, it's the most prominent. And even though that you can explain some elaborate procedures, like for instance, programming the keyboard and why I took it. This actually comes, or first thing that I noticed while being a maximizer was actually while crossing the street. I think that when crossing the street, I think when and how to cross the street the fastest way possible. In triangular manner, this is quite hard, but if you have a normal crossing like in Poland, well, it seems to be much easier because you see the lights turning green, turning red, and then I analyze the crossing and go to the other side of the road the most efficient way possible. And even though this is in the 5th place, I consider it to be my most prominent skill from this list. And maximizing your profits means that even though you don't have for the time being the list of your skills, you can get one. You can of course do the assessment, you can find any other tests of personality, but for me, getting this list and seeing that I am a maximizer, maximize my profit, because I now know that being the most efficient every time is something that I value, and something that I value a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Oleg, for this short speech, but full of content. Now, dear fellow Toastmasters, what was the purpose of the speech? It was, you consider it to be an informative speech, right? So the purpose was to inform. And what was the particular purpose? To inform about myself as a maximizer and what maximizer is, you could say, right? Oleg, is that in line with your desired purpose, what you wanted to share with us? Yes. Okay, so based on that, let's see how it was structured. So the content, the structure of the speech, the words, the sentences, and the story that Oleg brought. Who would like to start? What would you like to say about the structure of the speech? In what way it supported the main purpose of the speech?
It started with a hook, something that we didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Why was it used? The picture of the keyboard, and then the speech turned into something important to Oleg.
Mm-hmm.
But it was engaging the whole time. So the change from the keyboard to Oleg's depiction of being a maximizer was a great thing to keep us engaged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why this structure was efficient? Why having a keyboard in the beginning and explaining it, why Oleg is using such keyboard? Anyway, how he brought him to explaining what maximizer is, in what way it was efficient?
To attract our attention.
It caught our attention, it kept our attention because we wanted to know. When you start the speech with something that is like, huh? And then you wait for some, it creates an anxiety, it creates a tension, and attention is your friend. In the speeches, the tension is your friend. And the moment you resolve the tension, you suddenly increase the positive emotions in the audience. And that's how you achieve your purpose, because from now on, everyone will remember what kind of keyboard you are using. Right? Okay, so that's the structure. This story, we had, what kind of stories we had during the speech? You remember what kind of stories we had? One about the keyboard.
The second one.
About?
The test he took?
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of
The test, yeah. So that was the test, was one part of the answer. And the third?
About street crossing.
Street crossing, yeah. As a supportive example of how, in what way, what does it mean to be a maximizer? Yeah. If you had more time, you could speak about more examples from different parts of your life that show what does it mean for you to be a maximizer and what it can mean for others as well. So we had 3 stories. How were they connected? How are the stories connected?
All of them are about the efficient way of doing something.
The keyboard story and the streets crossing story were about efficiency, and the test story maybe wasn't about efficiency. I think that could be a point for improvement to make how you went to the extent of being a maximizer, even in providing the answers to the test. That could be something kind of a point for improvement. That would be one thing that would connect all 3 stories together. Yeah. So yeah, we had these 3 stories. So we had an opening story, a hook. We had the explanation story, and then we had a supportive story, and that looped back to the keyboard, right? So we had also beginning and the beginning and the ending was more or less about the same topic, right? So that's also a nice thing to loop back to the beginning. All right, so we had stories, we had structure. How about the language? The language, the words, the sentences, in what way they supported the purpose? Remember, the purpose, to inform you that I am a maximizer and what does it mean for you, for me and for you. That's the purpose.
The way of speaking was very clear to bring up these stories out of what Oleg was saying.
Yeah, I would say it cut down all the unnecessary stuff from the speech. It was only left with what's needed. Does it support the purpose? It perfectly supports the purpose. The sentences were long, not so hard, not so easy to understand, or simple, short, one after another, one coming out from the other. That was the second option. It was very clear, it was very easy to follow, and that also supports the purpose as well, right? Now, point number 3, the stage presence. What can we say about that, knowing the purpose of the speech and the stories?
The way he uses his voice was really maximizing. Like he was really fast in his speech, and it also like it was the purpose, I guess, of this presentation, just to put all the energy in one small presentation.
I hear what you say. I interpret what you're saying, that he was very outgoing, very energetic in the speech, right? So to put as much energy as possible in a relatively short time, because he had only 4 minutes, right? So you hear the evaluation is that you were very energetic during your speech.
In my opinion, I was so engaged into this speech that for me it was nearly the motivational speech. He motivated me to do the girls.
It's a side effect of the speech. Eh?
But there was also a sense of relief
Mm-hmm.
when Oleg talked about learning, what is one of his most important qualities, I would say, from the test. He would pass us this really, okay, this is who I am, this is how I behave, and it's okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It could. That could be. I mean, I interpret what you're saying, that you felt that Oleg was passionate about speaking about that topic, the Clifton strengths and being maximizer, right? So being passionate as a part of the evaluation, pointing out that I found you passionate about the topic, is a nice thing for the performer, for the person on the stage, to understand. Okay, I give you something, and that's being absorbed by you. Yeah, so that's a good feedback. That's a valuable feedback. All right, so that's the stage presence. How about body language? In what way it supported or not supported the purpose?
I think it was very appropriate. It wasn't over the top. We could feel the energy, but if he had excessive gestures, the message would get lost. And it was just right.
Was just right. Very, I would say he was standing all the time here, not moving a lot. Maximized the potential of this place, right? Maximize the potential of gestures. I tell you something. I was trying to one time. I was trying to give a speech without gestures at all. Yeah, and I didn't manage. I mean, at a certain point, I made a gesture, and everybody was speaking about that gesture. That was a very meaningful gesture. The less gestures you make, the more visible, the more meaningful they are, right? So I think in this case, what you're saying is that Oleg used the potential of each and every gesture to support the purpose. Right? How about we spoke about the voice, we spoke about the body language. Now let's move to the visuals. So we had a presentation, we had slides, and that was it. That was the visuals that Oleg used as to support his stage movements, his stage presence, and the purpose. We didn't have props, and that's okay, but we had slides. So in what way the slides supported the message? In an incredible way.
I was very surprised when he was making a lot of gestures and speaking, knowing that something is above his head, but he was not turning. He did it once, I think. So it was incredible.
That shows a little bit of a preparation.
It also demonstrated the keyboard, so there was no question what kind of instrument he used.
So you,
the context.
so you could say, well, I use this keyboard that is split into two, and I have one part here and one part here. We could imagine it, but then instead that you decided to show it, which shortens the message. I mean, you don't have to speak about it. You have 4 minutes. This is what I'm using. Huh?
I also like that it was in black and white, so it was like minimizing, so in a way to maximize just black and white.
It was black and white, with an exception of this orange bar. Yeah, in this Clifton Strengths slides, there was this orange bar. It was very visible. It was very clear we speak about that little thing here. So it wasn't overdone. It was appropriate. It was black and white. So minimum things used to tell the story. So again, most efficient way to tell the story with the support of the slides. In that way, we can provide the speaker very meaningful, detailed, and actionable advice or feedback, so that he can use this information coming from you to make his speeches better next time. And that's the ultimate purpose of the evaluation. I would like to thank you very much for participating in that exercise. I'm asking you to try yourself using that particular structure to give your feedback to the speeches, because for me as a speaker, I would be very happy to get it, because then it's actionable for me, and it makes it easier for me to prepare my speech better. Thank you very much.